Hey, can you all hear me? Hopefully all of you are there and you can hear me fine. It was having a very slow time getting on. So, hey guys, welcome to the live stream. And thank you for joining us. Big moment here for us. This is 1 year ago today was the first video posted on the channel. And so really excited that here we sit 1 year later and channel's grown a lot. We're nearing 12,000 subscribers, and it's pretty exciting. So thank you all for joining us. And if you don't mind, hit the like button on the video. That helps YouTube promote this. So I would appreciate if you all are just here and you hit that button. It makes it real easy. So a couple things that I want to hit on tonight. First and foremost, I want to start a conversation. I actually have a couple I thought about releasing a regular video because there's actually been a couple pieces of fairly small but yet significant Wheel of Time TV show news that has come out. And so I figured it might be worth addressing here real quick. So, and this will maybe start a conversation. And then I have a big, I would say not a huge announcement, but I have an announcement at the end that I think will be kind of exciting for you all. So there we go. Let's start with this. The first piece of news that I want to start I know will be a heated conversation among all of you, is there was an update to the Wheel of Time TV show IMDb page, and there were 2 new roles added, and so I thought these were kind of funny, and I would explain what they are. So there was a position basically. And I know I'm going to butcher the name or the title of this. I'm actually going to pull it up and look at it again because I don't want to screw up the title, and I will. But it was 2 new roles that were basically added, and they are, I will tell you right now. Maybe. Okay, so they added an intimacy coordinator. That's the role I was looking for. Intimacy coordinator. I didn't want to screw that up. Which I had to look up what that meant. And so intimacy coordinator is a role that's typically hired by a union. So either the actors union, things like that, anytime they're either going to be nude scenes or sex scenes. And they're basically like, for lack of a better way of putting it, a sex choreographer. So I thought, first of all, the fact that there are 2 of them now added, and you can check that out. In fact, I will go ahead and link that in the video here. So if you want to read that. But there are people that do that. Now, again, it doesn't necessarily, I want to stop before we jump into the conversation about whether or not this is a big deal or not. I want to start by saying, this doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have graphic sex scenes. These are not, again, I saw somebody post in there, porn directors or something like that. That's not what this is. So that's not necessarily what an intimacy coordinator does. So they're really there to make sure that the actors and actresses are comfortable, that they are, that it's maybe shot the right way. So if they're not going for they want them to be nude, but maybe not graphically nude, that it's shot in the right way. That's what they're there for. Now, it could mean a lot of things, but here's what it does mean. It means that there's going to be some type of nudity or sex, which for most of us, we already knew was going to happen. So here's the question I want to pose to you all. And we'll kind of hop on this discussion. I'd love to see what you all have to say about it. How do you feel about nudity in the show? A couple of us were having this discussion in the Discord last night. Do you feel like you want no nudity? Do you think you want some of it, but it realistic? Do you want them to ramp up the sex? Do you want how do you want them to approach that? And then more importantly, if they do decide to put nudity in the show, how do you want it to start? Like, when do you want that to start? How do they do it? So I'd love to hear what some of you all have to say. I know this is going to be I know we'll have some different opinions here, but we'll go with it. So first of all, tell me what you think, but then also tell me why you think it. That's better for a conversation. So MK is saying, say the Logain idea. So I will save, I have an idea about how they might start this without having us I guess I'll prompt it by saying this. I think a lot of the fear for some of us is that if they go ahead and put nudity in the show, that it's going to be kind of a forced, like weird, like, hey, we're in the Two Rivers still, and Egwene is hooking up with Will Alcine or something. Okay, and it's going to feel really forced and out of character, and that's what we're worried about. Okay, I think, and I would say, I think most people are worried about that they're going to do that. So what I presented last night, or I had an idea about it, is if they are going to put nudity and they are going to put sex into the show, a great place that this can be brought in would be with actually the character of Logain. Because my thought was, if they're going to introduce Logain earlier in the show, so rather than the first time we see him being in Camelin, but they're going to introduce it instead earlier, maybe the first time we meet Logain, we're meeting him and he's kind of a cockier person. This is before he's been captured, and maybe he's having a sex scene of sorts to demonstrate his quote unquote power before he gets taken down a notch. So interesting thought. I'll throw that out there. MK was saying that I should talk. I was on the Dusty Wheel last night, which if you guys have not checked out the Dusty Wheel, make sure to subscribe to them. They're great. It's a good call-in talk show. So let me go ahead and hit on some of your comments here. So Adam wants plenty of nudity, seagulls, sweat tents, but no sex scenes. I like titillating scenes, the Avienda, experiencing Rand and Elaine, that type of thing. So you want there to be the nudity that is in the books. Because again, you can't really separate nudity from, I mean, if you want to be authentic to the books, it's there. But you're saying you don't necessarily want the sex scenes, which again, the books for the most part ignore or don't necessarily bring up. Oh, hey, Thomas, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Love the videos and congrats on the successful first year. I appreciate it, my friend. Fine with some nudity, but no need to go full Game of Thrones. And I would love to hear this. And I think that's a common theme, is that we don't want to go Game of Thrones, quote unquote. And really, what does that mean? Because there's early Game of Thrones and then there's later. At the beginning, they were purposefully throwing it in there. And then they kind of, I don't want to say they toned it down, but it was less a part of the show as Game of Thrones went on. So I do think there is something to say about that. That you don't want there to be gratuitous sex scenes which aren't in the books. Now, here's what I would argue. I think it's going to be hard to have nudity without having. I don't think we need to see graphic thrusting, crazy stuff, but I do think we're going to see something. Okay, I think there is going to be sex in the show because it's got to be somewhat consistent, and it'll feel weird if they don't. So, Thomas, I think what your statement is probably something that a lot of folks echo. So, MK, I wonder if Rafe and the writers know that all the fans are saying and taking us into account. I'll keep my mouth shut. I will say this, guys. They do pay attention. So I'll just say this. I think they pay attention. I wouldn't mind including the fade to black sex scenes in the books to be on screen in the show, but I prefer they don't add more. So you don't want them, Jesse, you don't want them to add in sex between characters that maybe wasn't in the books, but you don't mind them putting in what is already there, if I'm understanding. Like if it's in the books and it happened, you don't mind seeing it. Does that mean maybe that you don't mind seeing Matt hooking up with barmaids or IO girls or whatever? Or is it you just like maybe Rand having, like, is that, I guess maybe if you could clarify what you mean. Roll with Colin charisma. The Rand and Avi sex scene after the snow chase would make sense. I agree. I think it has to be in there, and I think it's there's an awkwardness to it, frankly. And I think that's because it wasn't. They didn't mean to have that happen, and they're both very innocent. And so for that to have happened, I think it should be in the show, and I think it should be awkward, frankly. So okay. The only graphic thrusting I want to see is spears into the defenders of the stone. Wow. So we're all about the violence, maybe not about the nudity. Nae'Blis confirmed that Rafe has spies here. Not saying anything, Daniel. Maybe Daniel is one of his spies. So I think that they shouldn't add unnecessary sex, but there is a lot of nudity in the Wheel of Time. Where to go? But there's a lot of nudity in the Wheel of Time that is a part of the world building, like the Shannarans and the Ideal. Again, I agree. I've talked about this in other videos. There's a ton of nudity in the books. It's pretty hard to ignore it, or pretty hard to avoid it, I should say. So It's everywhere out there. It's going to be hard for you to stay away from it. So I think if they are going to be authentic, it's got to be there. Alan, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you for the donation there. Congrats on the 1 year. I watched the Dusty Wheel last night and loved it. I don't mind Game of Thrones level, but I think Wheel of Time is not on the same level. My personal opinion, I want them to have the nudity in the show. I want it to be equal nudity. I don't want it to be just boobs all over the place and nothing. If they're going to put nudity in, they need to be authentic and show all the nudity. That's just the way I feel about it. I do think there should be a small amount of sex, but I don't think that there needs to be anything graphic. And I don't get the feeling that there will be. I don't. Just because they hired an intimacy coordinator does not necessarily mean that they're going to have porn. At least we hope not, right? So thanks again there, Alan. So, okay, like throwing in a scene. So Jesse, to come back to Jesse's comment, throwing in a scene with Tom and Dina in book 2 events would be okay. Matt hooking up with someone on the stone, sure. That kind of thing fits the characters. I agree. Again, it has to fit their characters. And I don't think they're going to go outside of it and just randomly have people like Perrin's not a hookup guy. So I don't think Perrin's going to be randomly hooking up with chicks. It's just my guess. Unless they are completely changing the character. And I will say this will kind of lead in a little bit to what we'll talk about here. Cause I've got another piece of news that's relatively quick, or relatively new, I should say. Sorry. But this will lead into that. There are going to be changes. And what I mean by changes, I actually think, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I think there's going to be some relatively drastic plot changes. I don't think the characters' attitudes will change as much. I don't think it's going to be as much characters being cut as much as it is plot lines being added and maybe the order of things changing. Okay, so I think that is going to be the case. And so that being said, I don't want to see drastic changes to who the characters are. That's I guess where I want to go with that. So, okay, all right. But seriously, give me the non-sexualized nudity. I want baths and sweat tents and Kashain and sea folk. And again, I 100% agree. I want to see the non-sexualized nudity, and I don't mind a little bit of sex. I just don't want crazy amounts of it. Daniel Lobo, I don't want changes. Guys, unfortunately, it's part of the reality of adapting it. And I think, weirdly enough, I think the book that is going to need the most physical changes to it is Eye of the World. And I know that if you look at the way, and I've talked about this a little bit, the books, the Game of Thrones books, for instance, are written in a way that lended itself well to making a show out of the first season, where you could pretty much the first season of Game of Thrones is essentially the exact same as the first book of A Song of Ice and Fire. Eye of the World is not a book that lends itself well to that. Because it does not have multiple points of view from everywhere. We don't have a huge weaving arc of a bunch of different plot lines that weave together to come together at the end. We basically follow one plot line all the way through. They're going to have to change that, because that's not the way that these shows, that's not the recipe for these shows. So we're going to need to see other parts of the world. And that's why one of the big ones is Logain is going to be a part of that. Logain is going to be added in, I think, and I think it would be a really smart move. That's why I was coming back to the sex scene. Logain has the potential. I think he's underutilized a little bit in the books. He has the potential to have a very good arc throughout the story. Again, I won't end with where he ends, but let's just say he has a big ending. But we need for him to have a believable and followable arc. We need to see him before he's been gentle, right? So we need to see him at the height of his power. We need to see his cockiness, his arrogance, his believing that he's the Dragon Reborn, the wars. And I think that's a great time to introduce sex into the show, maybe through Logain, because he is demonstrated that way. Whether that be, I've heard people that wanted to make Logain gay. I've heard people that, he's a womanizer, however you want to put it. But if he's in the show early on, and that's where we see that takes away like Egwene hooking up with Aram in the Tinker Camp or anything like that. Like, I think that feels out of character, and I don't want to see that. But it makes more sense for somebody like Logain to do that. And so it starts that plot arc that we can then see Logain getting gentled or captured and then gentled, and then who he is now and being depressed and what being gentled does to somebody. And then later on, as his arc changes, I just feel like there's potential there, and I think that's a great place for some of those sex scenes. Now, I want to add this in because this is the other part of it. If you guys remember back when they were doing casting for the show, the casting call for Egwene and Nynaeve called for nudity. Now, they didn't give those names, but they did. Okay, so we know that there's going to be something. Now, that could be as simple as their scene where they're getting their testing. It could be something as more. So who knows? But it's there. So let me hit on some other comments here. I want to keep MK waiting because she's desperate to hear this news that I've got. But let me hit on some of these other comments because I know I'm really bad at this, reading all of your comments. So I apologize. Sarah, I think broadening the story of Logain is so smart because I also think I think it can intensify how scary the Red Aja can be. Totally agree, Sarah. Obviously, I just talked about that, but I feel like Logain is one of the more expandable characters. The characters that I want to see expanded upon are the ones that have arcs that we can follow. Hey guys, and if you're just joining us, by the way, before we get too much further, go ahead and hit the like button if you can. It really helps YouTube promote this. So if you can just, while you're watching this, just hit the like button, that would be awesome. I appreciate you. Let's see that pop up past 100 there, but back to some of the comments here. The characters that I want to see expanded upon are the ones that I think can have a strong arc, that can start somewhere and end another place, I should say. So the ones that I don't necessarily, that I think could be cut are the characters that have no arc because they're not somebody that we want to get behind and follow. Okay, so aside from MK talking about Barney being naked, let's move on to some of these. I think Logain and maybe Mazrim could show up early and see why everybody fears the dragon, especially if we don't see the prologue. I agree. I think that's a part of it too. Elida and the Forsaken need to be expanded. 100% agree. I am, for those of you, I love Daniel Green. He's the man. He has a very different opinion from me on this, and that's okay. We're all entitled to them. He's, I think, in favor of maybe cutting down the number of Forsaken so that the smaller number can maybe be expanded upon and bigger characters. I'm of the opinion we need to expand the backstories and the roles of the Forsaken and not cut any of them. Compelling villains are what drive story. And although Elida is not necessarily evil, she is a villain of sorts, or she is an antagonist. So I think expanding her role is really, really important, as well as expanding the roles or the motivations behind other. Well, if you think about what makes villains really good, it's a couple things. Number one, do you love to hate them? And so I always talk about this. The characters that elicit the strongest emotions from us in the story are actually well written. Like when you get mad at certain characters, even though you may hate them, that means they're usually a good character. And Elida is a perfect example of that. And her character could even be expanded upon a little further, because she believes that she's correct. I mean, she's wrong, but she's doing it on the same side as the light. Like, she intends that she is fighting for the side of the light. She's just, as somebody, I can't remember who put it this way on Dusty Will last night, but she's just wrong. And the White Cloaks are sort of in the same boat. The White Cloaks are not dark friends. They're not fighting for the shadow for the most part, but they are wrong. Like, they're wrong in the way that they view the world, the prejudices that they come to the show or to the world with. And I think the White Cloaks have an amazing arc across the story. So seeing that, I think, is pretty fun. So those are the types of characters and plot lines that I want to see expanded, is where we see those arcs. Okay. Again, let me hit. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so bad at following here. We can have a lot line following Padan Fane's journey of following Rand, and also include his flashbacks to the before. I actually think Padan Fane, he's one of the characters I don't want to see his backstory explained more. I don't think we need to. I think he needs to be a compelling villain, and I love villains that do bad things are important. And he's responsible for, spoiler here, but he's responsible for killing Perrin's family. So that in of itself is pretty powerful. I want to see Padan Fain do more bad things. Like, he does horrific things, but to characters that we don't care about. I want to see, like, go to Game of Thrones. Why do people hate Joffrey? Why do they hate Ramsay Bolton? It's because of the horrible things that they do. I want to see Padan Fain do horrible things. I want to see him just be a disgusting individual who does really, really bad, awful things. So I'm excited for that. And again, okay, Elida is just more narcissistic version of Swan. Misinterpreting her foretelling was the biggest difference between the two. Elida is pretty narcissistic, actually, and yeah, I'll leave it at that. I don't want to start making political comparisons, even though I'm going to later. But she is. I mean, she's a textbook narcissist, and she thinks she's right. She can't see outside of herself, but she thinks she's also doing the right thing. Also, so it's kind of a weird character there. I like her as a character. Are we all worried that Fain has been cut? My sister's convinced that he's one of the characters cut. I'm not. No, because he might be, but I don't think we have reason to think that he has been. Okay, and same way with Tom. Just because they haven't announced characters, there's a lot of characters they have not announced. Okay, they have not announced a lot of characters. So let's not, to put our tinfoil hats on yet and just assume that everybody's been cut that hasn't been announced, because that would be most of the characters in the series. So we will find out shortly, but I'm not at the point where I'm willing to say, oh God, what are they going to do? I can't believe they did that. And if they did, I'm hoping that they have a convincing story. My take on the changes, as much as I want this to be just like the books, I'm going to be okay with changes because, again, it's a different medium. I'm always going to have the books to go back to. I'm okay to see a new story. What I'm not okay with is having the characters not be authentic necessarily, or having a bad story. If the story's bad, I'm going to say it's bad. If it's compelling and they make a change that I don't necessarily agree with, but I see them execute it well, then maybe I'll change my mind. And that's happened before in other series. I would hope it happens in this one. So I'm going into it with an open mind because I want this to be good. If it's good, we'll get other adaptations otherwise. So any case. Okay. I want Gawain's ending changed. So I don't want to hit on spoilers too far because I know we have some people that haven't finished the books. Here's how I would interpret Gawain. There's been a lot. We talked about this on the Dusty Wheel last night. Gawain as a character, there's been a lot of talk about maybe combining him with Galad, which is not something I'm for. I think they play two very different roles, and I think they play very necessary roles. And again, I come back to it. They have good arcs. Galad has one of the better arcs in the show. And I think Gawain does not. I think Gawain is actually the most poorly written character. And I don't mean to be negative at Robert Jordan, but I feel like Galad is an inconsistent character. I don't think it makes any sense for Gawain to stick around at the White Tower after Swan's deposing. Just knowing that he is that concerned about Elaine, it doesn't make sense that he would still be there. Or maybe that he would have even fought against... I mean, I can see why he was mad at Swan, but it doesn't make sense that he would have done the things that he did. I mentioned this last night. My thought on Gawain about how to redo him as a character would be to have him depart with Swan and Lyanna and Min and Logain. Have him leave with them. And that would completely rewrite his story, completely. But he's going to meet Egwene. That arc is going to make more sense because they will have spent more time with each other, right? Because he'll eventually see them in Saladar. He'll be able to maybe even go with the girls to Ebadar, and he doesn't want to leave Egwene, but she makes him. Like there's plot lines there, and maybe we get to see more. So I think that's a possibility. Obviously, I don't know that that's going to happen, and that's way down the road. But I feel like that's a possibility of a way to redo Gawain that makes a little bit more sense to me. So just as a thought. Okay. So let me hit on some of your comments. He was consistent until the end. I'm not sure that I feel like Gawain was consistent, if that's who you're talking about. I just don't feel like he was. Okay. Do I think they can fit 2 books in per season? Later on, yes. I don't think it's going to be as linear as that. I don't think we're going to be. I think we're going to see books spread across multiple seasons. I think we're going to see pieces pulled here and there. I think that's the changes that we're going to see. And that doesn't fit in our nice little, like, we want an organized, like, hey, they're going to do this and stop here and then move on and stop here. We want that because the books are written that way. I don't think we're going to get that. So that's not upsetting to me. I just think that they're piecing together a story that's going to make more sense on screen. And when they adapt it, you may have some overlap. So I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as 2 books a season. I don't think it'll be that easy. Okay. Okay. I think they need to bring storylines from book 2 into season 1, and I think they will. I think we might see the Sean Shannon season 1. Again, there's going to be different plot lines going on, and that's okay. I mean, again, I don't mean to keep harping back to Game of Thrones, but even though the last season, or last 2 seasons really were bad, the first 6 were awesome. Or really, the first 5 were amazing. And there's lessons to be learned from that show about adapting the Wheel of Time. They're not the same. They're not the same in terms of plot. They're not the same in terms of characters, but there are lessons to be learned about what made it work. And I do think having multiple plot lines to follow and then weaving them together is the skill of the writers. And taking Robert Jordan did a great job of that in his books after book 2. So I do think, again, we need to keep an open mind to maybe the way that they're going to put elements in and change things. So, okay. I will bring this up here because I'll keep MK going. So there was an article linked in my Discord server. There was an interview done not too long ago. So I have it printed off here. You have to pay for it. MK, can you go ahead and link that article in the chat so if people do want to pay and read it? That'd be fine if you can link that for me. But so I decided to spring for the huge amount of money, $4, to read the article because I wanted to. But there's an interview that was done with Harriet and with John Doherty from Tor Books. It's linked in the description there. Oh, thank you, Longshanks. Appreciate it. And where is the whiteboard? Well, it's right here. So it has nothing written on it right now. I'm kind of getting away from the whiteboard during live streams and saving that for the main videos. Maybe I should have if you guys come up with a good whiteboard and put it in the description, I'll write it out and put it up right now. But thank you again for the donation there. Appreciate it. But back, so this came out on the 13th. So not too long ago. It was an interview done with, again, Harriet and Tor Books, and there's a couple small pieces of information in it. Nothing crazy, but stuff that I think is really interesting and kind of important. So the first of which is a very small drop that isn't anything surprising to me, but I think for some people this is the closest that we're going to get to this. I'll read this. So Amazon this week began shooting a television series based on the Wheel of Time in Prague, promising to spend more on each episode than was poured into the groundbreaking epic Game of Thrones. So cut that off. So right off the bat, they're saying, hey, they're going to put more into this than Game of Thrones was. Okay? That's the first hint of the budget that we've gotten. Now, that's not a surprise to me in any way, shape, or form. The reason I say that, I've done a lot of research on this topic specifically. This is why I said Amazon is the place that I want. There's not another place, maybe other than HBO, because they just do quality stuff. But Amazon's the place I'm happy that the show is. And here's why I say that. So Game of Thrones in its first 2 seasons got a $6 million per episode budget. Amazon on all of its original content right now typically does not spend less than $8 million, and most of the time they're right around $10 million per episode. And that's for their typical programming. For these the Wheel of Time show, I would not be shocked, and I'm not going to say that we're going to get this, but I would not be shocked if we got a $12 million per episode budget, somewhere in the 10 to 12 million range. That just seems to be consistent with what Amazon does. Okay. Again, there's a couple shows that have been out recently that'll be pretty good indicators of this. If you have not watched The Boys, or if you have not watched more specifically Carnival Row. Now, I'll speak to Carnival Row real quick. Carnival Row is not an amazing story. I wouldn't say it's like a great television series or anything like that. It's all right. But the production quality is off the charts high. It looks like a movie. It's great makeup and effects, which, by the way, is the same guy that's doing Wheel of Time. The special effects are amazing. The set design is amazing. You can tell they spent money. Also filmed in Prague, as somebody just said. So they are spending money on this. So again, I'm just coming back to the quote where it says they're promising to spend more on an episode than Game of Thrones. It's true. Okay, they're going to do it. They're spending money. So that may come. It's the first real hint or statement that we've gotten on the budget, and so it's not surprising to me, but I think it's cool to see that confirmed a little bit. So let me hit on the rest of the article, and there's nothing really groundbreaking here. Most of this is discussion of Robert Jordan's new book that's being released, Warrior of Attila. I think I'm butchering that, but read it again. Which, by the way, Daniel Green did a great review on that. So check out Daniel Green's channel if you want to check out a review on the new book. But Robert Jordan has a book that he wrote actually prior to the Wheel of Time. It was one of his first things that he had written. It was he had never planned on releasing it. They decided to go ahead and release it, and so the book is out. And so some of the article here is just talking to Harriet, who is Robert Jordan's wife, about about the book and how it went, and whether Robert Jordan wanted people to see it. And it's definitely not the Wheel of Time, but you can see bits and pieces of his writing style. Now, in that conversation, they bring up a couple things. First of all, she talks about how Robert Jordan was not. He hated fame. He loved the series. He loved the fans. He hated being famous, and so which is partially why he had a pen name, by the way. But oh, thank you, Shuckins. I hope that they reveal a Shamael happens at the first season and not drag it out for 3 seasons. I don't know how I feel about that. I think there is an interesting thought about him thinking that he's the Dark One, and then maybe realizing later on, oh wow, as I go back and look, that wasn't the case. I think it is kind of fun sometimes when one of the things that's great about the books is how rereadable they are, because you go back and catch things, you're like, oh, it was pretty obvious that Shamael wasn't the Dark One, but we didn't realize that at the time. If you go back and read it, it's really obvious, actually. But it wasn't at the time. So I'm kind of okay with maybe hiding that that's actually him. But back on the news article a little bit here, one of the things that they did bring up that I think is interesting to see, there has been a 20% bump in sales of Wheel of Time books since the show has been released. So I'll say that again. There's been a 20% bump, which to me is friggin' awesome, guys. That's exactly what happened with Game of Thrones, and I want this series to become popular. And I think the fact that the show is coming out is exciting people. And it not since it's been released, when it's been announced, I should say. I'm sorry if I said that. When it's been announced. I am so sorry I said that. Some of you were like, what? It's been released? Yeah, guys, it's all out. You haven't watched it yet? But since it has been announced, there's been a 20% bump. So it's exciting to me to know that going in, just that they are, it's getting more popular, which is a big thing. And so they are expecting, just looking at John Doherty talking about right now, they expect Wheel of Time to be as popular, if not more popular, than Game of Thrones, which I am excited about. Of course, they say that, but they're expecting it to be, and they're happy with it. Now, one thing that I think is going to cause some anxiety for people, but it's okay. We've talked about this, and take a deep breath. Here's a quote from Harriet. Okay, and I'll read this. This is a quote from Harriet. McDougall also sees the TV show as providing a series of 1-hour commercials for the books. I don't know whether he would be delighted if he saw it, she says, talking about Robert Jordan. It can be hard to see the work of your own heart that has taken so many years of your life being put into a new medium where certain changes have to be made. But people can always go back and read the books. So that's a quote from Harriet. Now, let's read into that a little bit. Okay? This is nothing that you didn't already know. When you take a story in a book and try to put it on screen, there's going to be changes. It's inevitable. We all knew it. We all knew there were going to be changes. So the fact that Harriet is acknowledging that is not a secret. I think people can feel like that's scary. And it is what it is. There's going to be changes. She's basically saying it. Brandon Sanderson has said it. I'm okay with it. And she makes the point that I'm going to continue to make. I'm always going to have the books to go back and read. And I'm okay as long as the story that they make is compelling, as long as I can follow characters and get behind them, and as long as it's exciting to watch and I get to see the locations from my favorite series put on a show, then I'm going to be excited to watch it. Okay? If they screw it up, I'm going to say they screwed it up. Okay? But I'm just excited that they're making it. And I'm always going to have the books. So I'm going to go into it with an open mind. If they announce tomorrow that Tom Maryland has been cut from the series, I'm not going to be happy about that. I'm going to be apprehensive. I'm going to watch it and hope that they knew what they were doing when they did that. So Jennifer, thank you. Thank you so much. I always appreciate it. Jennifer is one of my biggest supporters and really helped with the Make-A-Wish fundraiser. So I appreciate you, Jennifer, a lot. A video was released that Pat and Fane will be done by Johan Myers. He was at the table reading. I saw that. I don't know that we can say for sure that that was released, that he is for sure Pat and Fane. I saw that video, and I'm not sure that was confirmed, so I'm hesitant to say that. I think it's very possible that that could be him. I think it was speculation, though. I actually think it's probably more likely that that character is going to play somebody in the Two Rivers. In the video in question, MK, if you want to search for it, I know you're asking, but the video in question is that there's I think it's Wheel of Time Theory is the channel. So I'm not going to say confirmed on that because until it's come out of Rafe's mouth, it's not confirmed. But there's a possibility there. Like, we still don't even know for certain that what's his face, Michael McElhaney is going to be in the show. He was at the table read, but it hasn't been confirmed that he's in the show. Okay, so it's possible. My guess would be he's not going to be Pat and Fane anyway, because he's darker skinned, and I feel like that's the theme they're going for with the Two Rivers. So I feel like he could be a character there as well. But it is just speculation. Alan, thank you again, my friend. My son doesn't believe it's live. Hi, Luke, please. Hey, Luke. What's up, my friend? Your dad is not lying to you. Meckel Hatton, thank you for correcting my pronunciation. We had a fun caller in on the Dusty Wheel that decided to rip on my pronunciations of things. But hey, guys, deal with it. I pronounce things like the audiobooks for the most part because I am used to hearing them. So, hey, we'll live with it. But those were the main points. There are a couple of the things they talk about in the article. But in the long and short of it, those are the major ones that, okay, we have the budget's going to be high. There are going to be changes. And sales of Wheel of Time books have gone up. So those are, to me, good things. I'm kind of excited about that. So any case, what are your thoughts on that, guys? Do you feel like, what are you having anxiety about? Are you going to be okay with changes if there are some? And then maybe what changes would you not be okay with? Okay. Michael, with success from a TV series, regardless of the changes, opens up the possibility of spin-off series, which opens up expansions in the Wheel Time universe. 100% true. One of the things that's gone back that I think Harriet has maybe loosened up on, she originally had said they were not ever going to add to the world because Robert Jordan wasn't around to do it. Amazon has bought the rights. I have a feeling that part of buying the rights for a show like this involves being able to expand the story. So, that being said, I do think there's a possibility if this is successful that we see spinoffs. Maybe that's an Age of Legends. Maybe that's Arthur Hawkwing. Maybe that's the White Cloak War. Could be anything. Okay, Young Moraine and Swan, like all of that could be there. So, they're already making changes that were outside of the story. I think they're fine with it. And so I think at this point, we may get a little, hopefully not a little too much of Star Wars where they make crazy changes now that Disney bought it. But I think it's possible. So I think that's a great statement. Appreciate that. I think changes will be made, just not just that I'm admitting defeat to the source material, but it's a different case, though, if the author would... Oh, you deleted the comment I was reading, so I will I will move on from that one because you deleted it. Okay, The Adventures of Guido Keen and Brigitte Silverbow. Yeah, that's a. There's all kinds of little spin-off stories. The world is so big, guys. I feel like there's so many stories they could tell, and that's exciting to me. I know Robert Jordan. One of the ones that he was going to tell was Matt and Tuon, or Fortuona, if you will. So, any case, Senbui has his own show. Yeah, he's going to be the main character, or a Narg spinoff. What other spinoffs would you guys have here? So, back to my original question though, what things are you having anxiety about? And do you feel like it's just normal anxiety, or are you really scared? Like you're kind of I don't know if I even want to watch type anxiety. And while I'm waiting on you all to answer that, if you haven't done this again, please hit the like button on the video, guys. It really does help the YouTube promote these. And so when you like it, it helps the algorithm do this. So if you have not liked the video yet and you're watching this and you don't mind, just hit that like button and it helps out a lot. I appreciate you all. And if you are just tuning in, this is the 1 year anniversary of the channel. So exactly 1 year ago today, I released the first video, which I did not do this on purpose. I really didn't, but this is coincidence, or maybe not. Maybe he's Taviran. This also happens to be Robert Jordan's birthday. So anniversary, Robert Jordan's birthday. I didn't do it on purpose. It just happened. Any case, I feel like that's whiteboard should say hit the like button. Well, I can say hit the like button, right? But and guys, just as a heads up too, here before the end of the video, I'm going to be renouncing kind of a special offer here to folks, and I think it'll be kind of cool. At least I think it's kind of funny, and I have a warped sense of humor, so whatever. You'll deal with it, and some of you will get excited about it, and some of you won't, and that's okay. Okay. So, okay, I want to hit on some of your comments. I think an interesting inconsistency in Gawain's character is addressed by, moving past me, could be addressed as allowing a plot driven by Masana or through the manipulation and influence by Fane. That's a possibility, that Gawain's character. I don't know that we ever know that he interacted with Fane, so that would be a stretch, but I think you could, if you wanted to, explain it away or maybe add that in to change it. Okay, Gabriel Brent, I like that the changes will be made. Not just that I'm admitting defeat to the source material, but it's a different case, though, if the author would apparently not like it. Well, I'll give you a good example. Stephen King hates the Shining movie adaptation, but yet The Shining is probably one of his better movie adaptations. Stephen King hates it. So I don't think that it has to be necessarily like, would the author have liked it or not type things. In fact, the Tolkien family hates everything done with The Lord of the Rings. They hate everything. I feel like, but yet those are popular. So I don't necessarily think that we can put ourselves in Robert Jordan's head and say whether he would or would not like it. In fact, Harriet won't even go as far to say that. She says, I don't know if he would or So, okay. Was there a dragon before Luz there? Yes, there's been a lot of dragons. In fact, there's a lot of speculations. I did a video on this topic, actually, my Nakomi video. There's speculation that Nakomi could be the dragon before Lucerne. Watch that video. You'll hear a little bit more about that theory. But it's an interesting theory out there right now. Elida was much more intelligent before she met Fane. Agree. I don't want to say intelligent, but I think her weaknesses became bigger weaknesses, if you want to put it that way, when she met Fane. So I think that's very, very possible. I'm scared about what the Trollocs will look like. Will they be larger than man size or CGI? I am not scared about that. In fact, I'm excited to see the Trollocs, and the reason I'm not afraid is the guy that's designing the suits and the CGI and all that is the same guy that did Carnival Row, and he did a hell of a job. So I am not scared of that. That's actually one of the things that I'm fairly certain is going to be really, really good. And even though they're unconfirmed, there have been people leaking saying they've seen pictures and they say, nope, they look good. And so I will believe that so far because I want to. Giving Fane a role in Gawain's story could both explain his behavior and dive Fane more interaction with characters people like. But I stand by a character just making the wrong choices is interesting. I agree. It's not that I think that he's making the wrong choices. It's not that I'm deciding I don't like the choices that he makes. There's lots of characters I don't like the choices that they make. My opinion on Gawain is not that he makes the wrong choices, is that I feel like his choices are inconsistent with his character. That's my problem with it. I feel like it doesn't make sense in his own head for him to have done what he did. That's I guess my problem with him as a character. And maybe I can do a video talking about why I hate Gawain. It's not that I hate him as a character. It's just I think he's poorly written. Or the most poorly written of the characters in the book, in my opinion. So he makes the choices that he makes sense for what he knows and end up being wrong. See, I guess I don't agree with that. So in any case, people who think Elida is mind Scoobied by Fane haven't read New Spring. Elida was a for lack of better, she was kind of nasty earlier in New Spring, but she wasn't stupid. And I feel like she gets a little bit more self-absorbed. Now, some of that you could explain it away as the pressure of being the Amerlin, the pressure of a lot of things going wrong and basically presiding over a split white tower. Combine that with her narcissism, and that's why she just goes in crazier and crazier and crazier. But and then also the fact that the Black Aja was manipulating her. But I also think it's possible that Fane did have an effect on her because Fane, in his own point of view in Fires of Heaven, you see him talking about finding weaknesses and exploiting them. And we know that's something that his character had the ability to do. And it seems as also that he was meeting with her. So I feel like what he did is he maybe exaggerated her already serious flaws. And I think it just got worse. And that's kind of maybe, I think you can say that there's a possibility there. I wanted to have a visual medium since book one came out. I accept that there will be changes, good or bad, and I'm excited to see them on screen. Won't be happy if they are horrible, but I know the real story. See, I'm in the same boat. Because the things I'm most excited for, I want to see the story, but more importantly, I want to see the places. I want to see them create the White Tower. I want to see Tar Valon. I want to see Camelin. I want to see the two rivers. I want to see White Bridge. I love seeing this stuff visually, and that's what gets me so darn excited about it. And so even if they make some changes to the story, I'm going to be okay. As long as they're good changes, I'm okay with it. If they screw it up and they take it out and it sucks, I'm going to be the first one to say it sucks. So I know I get accused of, I get accused a lot of being maybe a defender or being too optimistic or whatever it would be. I don't have a reason right now to not be optimistic, and I am going to give the benefit of the doubt until I have reason not to. And so I'm not that apprehensive right now. Everything I've seen so far has me more excited than less excited. And this article here that came out has me more excited. Okay. My problem with Gawain was Elaine, Egwene, and Min, all the people that he trusts in the two cases loves, each tell him that Rand did not kill his mother, yet he didn't believe any of them, and it made no real sense. People do irrational things when they're emotional. Here was my problem with that. I agree with you the way it was written. I think if Gawain had more reason other than an offhand rumor to think that Rand had actually killed his mother, then it would have been more believable. But he's never really given anything that would make him like know that for a fact. And the fact that the people that tell him, well, like Egwene is like, well, I can't tell you for certain that he didn't, but she knows darn well that Rand didn't. She also knows that Ravine was there, and she doesn't say that. Like, it's stupidity with plot armor that makes no sense. It's not that they made the wrong choices, but Egwene would clearly tell Gawain that it's pretty possible that Ravine killed his mother. Like that. So yeah, that's my issue. Coming back to that character, it drives me nuts. So okay. Would it be cartoonish to depict Nynaeve tugging her braid when she's pissed? Do you think they'll keep that? I absolutely think they'll keep that. That's just part of who she is as a character. I don't think they'll overdo it, and I don't think it happens as much as you think it does in the books. I mean, she just does it, and it won't be something. I think for those of us that notice it will notice it, and those of us that don't won't. It's just I'll give you an example. How many times in Game of Thrones do we see Cersei standing in front of a window sipping wine? Right? That's something that her character does, something that Nynaeve does. That's it. MK, do you mind linking that article again? I think Matt is asking about the article. Guys, just as an FYI, you do have to pay to read it. And so I had to subscribe to the Telegraph. I think it's a British article or a British newspaper or online newspaper. What about cutting the Prophet stuff out? I hate the Prophet storyline because I just find it dumb, and I think it could be cut out. But I also think it does present the ability to have some interesting discussions about fanaticism and the power of fanaticism. And again, guys, keep in mind, these shows, you don't want. I understand those that are like worried about social justice, like, I'm trying to go out and have a cause, but like art, any type of art is meant to cause conversations. Good art facilitates discussion. Okay. And so I think addressing some of the things like having the white cloaks be what they are facilitates discussion. It gives us a different way of perceiving prejudice that maybe we don't understand. Social justice warders. If you haven't seen my complete satire video, I can't believe again that people thought that was real, and people still thought that was real for some reason. But I did make a video kind of satirizing that. But nevertheless, okay, congrats, Nae'Blis. 1 year is a big deal. I'm super glad there are people. Thank you. I appreciate you, Mr. Beastie. Appreciate you a lot. Daniel Green for Ulver. Nae'Blis for Narg. Hey, I look just like Narg. Probably talk like him too. I pronounce things like him apparently. So Masima can go jump in a lake. That is something that my mom always says. So yeah, go jump in a lake. I like that. You are a social justice Aes Sedai, I guess. Or you could be a female warder. White cloaks are chaotic good. I guess you could call them chaotic good. I guess. I think the Prophet is another example of mental illness, clearly. But then again, is it mental illness or is it fanaticism? And where is the line there? Does he really feel like he's doing the right thing? Or is he just crazy? Going back to the Dusty Will topic of combining characters, have you thought about which characters could be merged for this adaptation? Might be a good video concept also. In fact, it is a video concept I'm working on. I'm not a fan of merging characters necessarily because I do think if they share a role, and the one that I would merge is one that everybody would flip out if I said. So I said it last night and everybody flipped out. I love Loyal. I love the Ogier. I think they're awesome in the books. I think it's incredibly easy to cut them from the show. And sorry. the reason I say that is it's just you could cut them out of the story and not have it damage the rest of the story. Okay, again, I love them. It's not that I'm like I hate Loyal. I think he's a bad character or anything like that. I just think that they could take him out. Okay, and if you're going to have to cut something, I would rather cut something that isn't going to hurt the rest of the story. The Ogier not being in the story they wouldn't hurt it. You could easily write out a lot of what they do, and Loyal basically serves as, there are three main actually in the first two books there are four main expositors, right? You've got Varen, you've got Moraine, you've got Tom, and you've got Loyal. You could cut Loyal out and still get the same exposition. Moraine could understand the ways, it's possible. Okay, I'm just saying, like, you could do it and not change a whole lot. So now, am I going to be remotely mad if they keep Loyal? Not at all. And do I think they're going to keep Loyal? Yes. And the reason I say they're going to is Rafe tweeted out back in February, "Glory to the Builders," which again is a statement the Shinarans say about the Ogier. So, and that's when he was writing the script. So I think we're going to see the Ogier, but would it kill me if they were cut? No. So yes, the fast travel needs to stay. I do think the ways could stay. Now I think they could use portal stones, but again, there's other they could come up with some type of other fast travel. It doesn't have to be something that's in the books. And guys, there are going to be changes that come out of left field. Learn to expect the unexpected. Okay. MK says, Brigitte, keep or cut. I would keep her. I think having a female character that is not a magic user but is also a badass is good. And I think Brigitte is a badass. So I love having Brigitte in the story. Keep her. Absolutely keep her. And I feel like she's also she's good for comedy with Elaine. She's great with Matt. I love Brigitte as a character. She also plays down her own heroicism, even though she is a hero. And I love that. And I also think the idea of losing who you are is an interesting plot device, because she slowly over time forgets more and more and more and more of who she is. And I don't want to spoil her, because I know there are some people in here that are on the last book that maybe aren't finished with it. Daniel, Brigitte has an awesome ending. So I'll just say that. There's a minor spoiler. Brigitte's awesome ending, in my opinion. So, yeah. So yes, to answer your question, I would keep Brigitte. So guys, here is I want to hit on this real quick while you're all still here too, and then we'll kind of answer a few more questions before we go. First of all, hit the like button if you have not done that yet. I appreciate you. But hey guys, we are running. I'm going to run a special here for folks because of the 1 year anniversary of the channel. Okay, we are going to do it didn't go live, so hold on one moment. I'm going to put this up and make it go live, but we are going to do a 1 year anniversary offer on the Patreon. So guys, the best way to support the channel and the things that we're doing is to support me on Patreon, because I'm not using this to pocket the money. Every dime that comes in there is going to go back into the channel. We are in the middle of building a new fan site that's going to integrate a lot of things from the community, new maps, interactive maps, walkthroughs of the story, visual representations. There's going to be a whole lot of stuff there. I want to be able to bring in content from other folks, blogs, all that stuff is getting built. And we need support to do that. I need to be able to hire MK, who you see as the moderator. I want to be able to bring her in there. So if you can support on Patreon, I'm throwing up an offer. It's not built yet because I have to wait for it to get approved, but you're going to get one. If you sign up for the Dreadlord tier or above, you are going to get two special things right now, and this is only going to run for the next 2 weeks. So if you sign up for that in the next 2 weeks, you're going to get a very special design shirt that will be available to you only, and that's going to be, we're going to have a Elida 2020 Make Randland Great Again shirt. That will be available only to folks that sign up for that in the next 2 weeks. So I appreciate you if you sign up for that $25 tier or above. You will also have some other perks, so definitely check out the perks on the Patreon. Also, check out the merch below. Some of you have been picking up merch. A lot of it is stupid, but it's fun, and I'm excited to see some pictures from you all with your dumb mugs and your socks and all the. There's even babies where you can get Chosen shirts. I wore it in my last video, so we're actually gonna start putting out whiteboards. I've got a new whiteboard mock-up, so we're gonna have whiteboard shirts. So if you guys want, I would appreciate it so much. Check out the Patreon link below. That is the best way to support the channel and what we're doing here. I appreciate all of you, and that deal is going to run for the next 2 weeks. So if you get to that tier here in the next 2 weeks, awesome. Appreciate all of you. And again, if you can't do that, don't feel obligated, but it does help us grow. So I wanted to hit on that because that is something that's going on here with the channel, and I'm pumped about it. Check out the merch too, guys. That's another way to support us. So it doesn't go live. I don't think that tier, let me make sure I'm not an idiot. It goes live, I think, at 10 o'clock. So I think it's an hour from now. If I am wrong, I don't think it's live yet, but you will be able to do that. I will retroactively, if you sign up here in the next hour before it shows up on the Patreon, I will still give you credit for it because I can do that. So yeah, it's the $25 tier. It's the Dreadlord tier and up is what it is. So Dreadlord and up, and then you'll get special stuff. If you're not in my Discord server, what are you doing? Get in the Discord server and click the link below. Join the Discord. Hop in the conversations with us. It's a lot of fun. If you don't understand Discord, it's okay. You just click the link and you just talk, and it's kind of the new message board or theory crowd. We get to talk about all kinds of stuff. So if you don't know what it is, just click that link below. It'll walk you through how to set it up. It's super, super easy. Any case, it is an awesome Discord server. So I appreciate you all. Okay, so let me hit on a couple of your questions. Okay, so it is in the description for those of you that are asking. But I know a couple of you, have you tried the Wheel of Time tabletop game? I have never done that, so it might be a good playthrough or a way to do that. That'd be fun. One of the things going on in our Discord server, we are refining this. So I'll throw a pitch. We're putting together a Wheel of Time D&D game. Like, we've got one running. We're working out the kinks on it before we can bring it and make it go live to a lot of folks. So just some of the stuff that's going on in the background, folks. It's a lot of fun, and I know some people in the server are playing on that, so it's a lot of fun as well. By the way, I'm pitching that, but it's not something you can hop in and do quite yet. We're working on that. We've got a small group of people playing, and it's fun. So, Michaela, thank you for the channel. It's been so long since I've read a series on my book 2 of my second reread. So it's nice to be reintroduced to the series with a bit of assistance. Hey, the best thing about this series is you can read it 25 times and still love it. It never gets boring to me. And I get bored with things pretty easily, and this never does. And every single time I read the series again, I'm over 20. I don't even know how many I'm at now. Every time I read it, I find something else. So it's exciting to me. Guys, I am going to wrap up the live stream tonight. Thank you all for joining in. Again, look at the link below for the Patreon. Again, any support that you can give is great. If you sign up for that $25 tier and up, you will get access to that shirt. That's for the next 2 weeks. If you are, I see Jennifer talking about this. If you want to listen to the audiobooks, that's a great way to do it. You can get a free audiobook by clicking my Audible link below as well. Guys, thank you all for the 1 year. Thank you for sticking with me for a year. Hopefully we'll do this for a few more years. Thanks, guys. Take care.